The biggest planet in our solar system, Jupiter, is now at his brightest. And this magnificent astronomical event, available for everyone around the world to see, culminates on December 6th with his annual opposition to the Sun. And so, when the Sun sets in the west, Jupiter, the planet of positivity, will rise in the east and be the brightest point of light in our night sky. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, I'm your space weatherman Stefan Burns, here to tell you all about this Jupiter-Sun opposition, one of my favorite astronomical events because it is so easy for everyone around the world to enjoy. Doesn't matter your age or your understanding or experience with astronomy, because it's very, very simple. Jupiter and the Sun are on opposite sides of the Earth right now. We see that nicely here with our solar system scope, our model of the solar system. Not to scale, but the geometries are accurate. This is set for December 6th. We see the Sun there. Here's Earth. There's Jupiter. And so in this position, Jupiter and the Earth are very close together. This is the closest distance that they reach every single year, of just about 4.1 astronomical units this year. And because of this arrangement of Jupiter, it's reflecting the maximum amount of light that it can from the Sun. And so Jupiter is the brightest point of light in the sky outside of the Sun itself, the Moon, and Venus, which right now is in an evening star position. And it's very easy to differentiate Venus and Jupiter at this moment because Venus, being an evening star, sets along with the Sun shortly afterwards off to the west, and Jupiter in opposition rises up in the east. And so if you walk out after the Sun sets, wait a couple hours to really make sure Jupiter's risen quite a bit off the horizon, you'll see a very bright point of light in the constellation of Taurus, and that is Jupiter. And if you wait a little bit longer, you'll also see Saturn nearby. And so quite a lovely astronomical spectacle for everyone to see because Jupiter is so bright. And I also found some other interesting symbolic interpretations occurring at the same time with this Jupiter-Sun opposition, which I'll share with you later on in the video, which you may find interesting. What I love about the Jupiter-Sun opposition is that it makes Jupiter extremely easy to find because he is one of the brightest points of light in our sky, only behind the Sun, Moon, and Venus. It's very easy to differentiate between Jupiter and Venus based on their respective positions along the ecliptic plane. And so to help you find Jupiter in the night sky, we're going to use this app called Stellarium. Here, this is set for San Diego. This is 4:45 p.m. on the 6th, and we see the Sun setting there in the west. We just had a new moon on December 1st, and so there won't be that much moonlight, though the moon is approaching a first quarter moon. And if we go forward in time, right here, we will see Venus appear there as an evening star. She's close to her greatest elongation, but she is still tied to the Sun, and she will set in the west shortly after the Sun does. And Jupiter will rise in the east in the constellation of Taurus. And so as the Sun sets, you can enjoy Venus dipping below the horizon. The moon will be close to a first quarter phase, and Jupiter will rise up in the night sky. And right when the Sun is exactly opposite your location on the planet, Jupiter will be at the top of the heavens. And once Jupiter is pretty far up in the sky, you'll also have good viewing of Saturn. And there are quite a few other interesting things right now next to Jupiter because it is in the constellation of Taurus. So we can zoom in here and we'll see the constellation of Taurus right here. It's in the horns of the bull. We see all the Baron right there, very bright sky. We see the Pleiades star cluster right there. And so even where I am with quite a bit of light pollution, I can see the Pleiades star cluster. Very likely you will be able to as well, unless you're like in a huge city like New York or maybe Tokyo. And we have Betelgeuse nearby. This is the constellation of Orion. So we see Orion's belt. Most people can find that and can recognize it on their own. Betelgeuse is the orangish reddish star that is part of the constellation Orion. You know, it's a red giant about to explode. Who knows? It may explode at any moment now. And Jupiter is right there. So Jupiter really, really bright during this moment in time. Just go outside at night and look to the east and you'll see Jupiter rise over the horizon. And because the orbit of Jupiter takes some time, Jupiter already has been very bright in our sky for about a couple months and will continue to do so for a couple months, but it's brightest at its opposition. Now there's some other interesting things that are occurring at this time. We can talk about the symbology of all this. So Jupiter right now is in the sign of Taurus, which traditionally is ruled by Venus, the goddess of love and beauty and harmony and prosperity. And so we have Jupiter in her sign, her constellation. And if we go over to Venus, we will see that she is in the constellation ruled by Jupiter. This is Sagittarius. So there's an interesting form of mutual reception right now in the sky between Jupiter and Venus. Now you will see that Venus here on the 6th is just about to shift into the constellation of Capricorn, but based on official constellation boundaries, she is still in the constellation of Sagittarius. And so there's this really nice benefic energy between the two of them symbolically, and they are both known as the benefic planets of fortune and good luck and abundance. And so I find that quite pleasing. What we also have happening though is right at that time on December 6th, there is going to be a magnetic field connection between Jupiter and physics based on solar wind dynamics. Let's give it a look. I find it really interesting how during this Jupiter-Sun opposition, when Jupiter is at its absolute closest to the Earth in its orbit, this time in 2024 at about 4.09 astronomical units, we also have this connection between Jupiter and Venus, both the benefic planets of ancient lore responsible for good luck and fortune. And we see this reflected in the actual heliophysics of our solar system on that date. And so Venus and Jupiter are connected together. Here I have a space weather model. This is for December 6, 2024 at 7 a.m. Universal Time. And we are looking at the solar wind along the ecliptic plane. And we are specifically looking at the plasma density of the solar wind. And we see these dashed lines there. Those are magnetic field lines. And so when you have these magnetic field lines going out, these are regions of connectivity. In general, when you have these regions of higher plasma density, these are known as co-rotating interaction regions. The solar wind goes out in these Parker spirals. These sears, as they're known, allow particles to flow down these field lines from one location in the solar system to the other. Now, what we often have happen every 13 months is Jupiter and Earth are connected together by these sears and these magnetic fields. And so we get this increase in Jovian flux. We don't have that happening right now. Earth right there is our yellow dot. The sun is right there. Venus is our green dot. This burgundy dot is Jupiter. And you see that this magnetic field line with the dash, black and white, and also this co-rotating interaction region, they are connected together because we have Venus right there. So Venus and Jupiter are connected together via Parker spiral dynamics. And Jupiter has a very powerful magnetic field. It produces a lot of relativistic ions. It emanates those out all across the solar system. Venus only has an induced magnetic field, but regardless, Venus will be receiving a dose of Jovian flux because those particles will preferentially travel down those field lines and rain down into Venus, just as they do with our planet once every 13 months. And so we have Venus and Jupiter in mutual reception based on their location in the night sky, the constellations that they are within. And we also have this energetic connection between Venus and Jupiter at the same time based on the actual heliophysics of our solar system during the Jupiter-Sun opposition when Jupiter is at its absolute closest to Earth. Now, if you were to have a Jupiter-Sun conjunction, the opposite, Jupiter would be way over here. And so here's the Earth at about 1 astronomical unit. Jupiter goes out to 5 astronomical units, you have this greater distance. But because Jupiter is in the same vector direction as the Sun-Earth line, on this side of the Earth, we get that minimum distance of 4.09 astronomical units in 2024. This distance varies. Let's talk about it. Here we have a graphic showing the distance between Earth and Jupiter during opposition going from 1950 to 2300 Common Era, also AD. And so we see our red X right there for 2024. This again is December 6th in just a couple days. And Jupiter and Earth are separated by about 4.09 astronomical units. Now, if we go back in time, 2022 is in fact the closest that Jupiter has been to Earth in about 60 years. And Jupiter won't get as close again to Earth until 2030 CE. And so that is right here, 2022. Jupiter was actually less than 4 astronomical units away from the Earth. Again, 1 AU is the distance from the Sun to the Earth. And now we're starting to increase again in our opposition distance. We see that the maximum there goes out to about 4.5. So there's a good amount of variability there, about 10% from the lowest to the highest distance. And 2022 was a special moment in terms of that distance because it was the closest that Jupiter has been in over 60 years, and it won't get as close again until about 110 years later. And so we are still fairly close together in 2024 at about 4.1 astronomical units. It's only going to increase in the oppositional distance until about 2030, and then it will swing back in close again in the mid-2030s. The Jupiter-Sun opposition, as you know by now, is on December 6th, but to my mind, there's an even better astronomical event occurring on December 14th, and that is when we have Jupiter conjunct the full moon. And so the moon will be at maximum illumination, and Jupiter, just having come off the opposition, will still be incredibly, incredibly bright. And so here we're using Stellarium once again, so I can show you this is set for San Diego, 4 p.m. Here we have our sun setting in the west. And if I go forward an hour at a time, we now see the moon and Jupiter rising there in the east. And if I zoom in on this, we can see how they look. We'll turn off some of the other things as well to really look at these two. And there they are, Jupiter and the moon very close together, both very bright points in the night sky. The moon not so bright though to obscure our view of Jupiter like the sun would if Jupiter and the sun were conjunct. And so this is an amazing event to go outside and look for, because in general, just looking at the full moon is always very nice. This occurring again in the constellation of Taurus. Jupiter though, this time just nearby. This is for the west coast of North America, but places in different parts of the world will have different viewing conditions. So for example, if I go back in time here, we will see them actually perfectly conjunct longitudinally. And so here we have the full moon and there's Jupiter. This is 11 Pacific Standard Time, so it'll be daylight for me, but for people in Asia, this is amazing. There's two of them so close together. Again, there's a Pleiades star cluster and there's Aldebaran. So make sure you get out on the 6th to see the Jupiter-Sun opposition. If you missed that, make sure you go out on the 14th to see when the full moon conjuncts Jupiter, because it'll be so easy to find. All you have to do is find the moon at maximum brightness. Hopefully you have good weather. It all depends on your weather, of course. So thank you all so much for watching the video. If you liked it, please click that thumbs up, help this channel grow. Again, I've been your space weatherman and host, Stefan Burns. Hope to see you around on the channel. Please subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you like about Jupiter? What's your favorite planet in the solar system? I love to hear. We have a very active, engaged community, so hope to see you around. Wishing you all well. Have a great day. I'll see you all in the next video.